Welcome back, everybody. President Trump has had a very busy week already. It's only Tuesday, but his trip to Japan saw him securing another rare earth mineral deal with that country. The biggest clause, however, had to do with permit restrictions, as the framework establishes a shared need to streamline permitting processes associated with all of the gathering of these rare earth minerals. And it's especially important because China is trying to secure a stranglehold over the world when it comes to exporting these minerals. So joining us now to talk about that and more is the EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. Sir, thanks so much for being with us.
It's great to be with you both.
All right, so we've got Malaysia, Cambodia, Thailand, Australia, now Japan. If we combine those critical deals already that President Trump has secured, we throw in some domestic production as well. Does that go half the way in liberating us from China so that we're not dependent on them? How far down the road does that get us?
Well, as far as President Trump goes, I mean, the sky's the limit, and we can't just double what we've done so far at some point in the future and then be satisfied with it. We always need to be pushing even further. And we have so much of these rare earth minerals in our own ground. We need to not only be tapping into the supply, but also boosting the entire supply chain process. So it's not just that we're taking it out of the ground and then sending it to some other country and then bringing it back to our country later in the process. It would be great from start to finish to be able to tap into these resources. It's important for our national security, for our economy. It's also better for our environment, too, because we tap into these supplies so much better and safer than so many other countries around the world. So this is a big deal. And as far as quantifying it, I would say that we're making leaps into and through this golden age for America. But I wouldn't say that President Trump would ever be happy, just by doubling what he's done so far. He's going to just keep pushing no matter what.
Mr. Administrator, I want to ask a little bit about what it will take to get a really sustained mining industry going in America. The Obama-Biden years really killed mining in America. What are some of the regulatory hurdles? What are some of the science? What are some of the things that you're doing behind the scenes to make sure that one day we're mining rare earths in Alaska or Minnesota or Wyoming and other places where we know those metals exist?
Advancing cooperative federalism, working with states and local governments, engaging with these companies and these investors directly. While the Department of Interior may be assisting with leases, there might be a need for an air permit or a water permit. And we want to get to yes as quickly as possible. Speed is key. There's a permitting reform that's being debated as a possible legislative opportunity that could be available. I believe that a permitting reform bill that would lead to permits taking less time, costing less money, having more certainty would be key as far as the process as well. I would also add that something President Trump's done this year that's really important is creating this National Energy Dominance Council. You don't have individual agencies siloed off, just focused on their own jurisdiction. We work together. We partner together. Just last week, meeting with President Trump in the Oval Office with the Department of Interior, Department of Energy, the Department of Commerce, and collaborating. That is so important. I think in the past where somebody would start a permitting process and then maybe 15 months down the road or 18 months down the road, they're being told no for something that they could have gotten a heads up on much earlier. That's something that needs to be avoided as well. And there's so much more, from the siting on brownfields and Superfund sites. The list goes on. I've traveled the entire country. By next week, I'll have already been to 48 of our states, and it's important to get out of Washington as much as possible. I have seen so much groundbreaking this year. This isn't a conversation about an opportunity that's 5 years or 10 years down the road. I'm going to, West Memphis, Arkansas, a week ago Monday, with a $4 billion Google data center. In an hour out of Cheyenne, where there's a brand new mining operation in Wyoming, or a new nuclear facility that's being built right now in Idaho Falls, Idaho. People are actually breaking the ground already on these massive investments.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Massive investments and massive jobs that will come from it. I want to ask you, because I can hear the green side of this country screaming already. They hear the word mining and they think, oh no, they're going to destroy the environment. But when it comes to mining and refining these critical minerals, if we do it stateside, and when it comes to detrimental impact on the environment, there really isn't much of one, is there?
We tap into our own resources here in the United States so much better than so many other countries around the world. And on top of it, by the way, we're not paying kids, practically nothing or possibly, in fact, nothing, like we see with some of these stories elsewhere, like what we're witnessing right now in the African continent with China Belt and Road Initiative. So the impacts are so wide-reaching. When we talk about the increase of baseload power, whether it's coal plants or natural gas pipelines and plants or these nuclear sites, these data centers, you just go one source after another. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not just about something that's huge for our economy. And you just pointed out the benefits of creating American jobs. It's not just big for our national security because we're in competition with other nations like China. It's also so much better for our environment. We tap into American innovation and we care about clean air, land, and water for all Americans. And I would say with great pride, Americans should keep their head up, held high, knowing that we tap into these resources so much better than so many other countries elsewhere.
So you mentioned the Energy Dominance Council. I think it may be one of the most underreported innovations of this administration, and it's drawn on the fact that our primary adversary for world dominance, and particularly in the AI race, China, has made energy the center of its economy and all of its foreign policy. This is a game changer. You saw, now that you've been at the EPA, the work that the Biden administration did. How many billions of dollars did we invest in things that had brought no benefit to American energy that we're now unraveling and fixing with this council?
I will tell you, just at EPA alone, our annual operating budget is about $10 billion a year. We've canceled just over $29 billion worth of grants. We've saved money on staff efficiencies, real estate consolidations, canceled media subscriptions. We closed a EPA museum that no one even knew about or even visited. We're pursuing efficiencies within our own agency. In this one example that I'm sharing of one agency in 1 year, you're looking at 3 times the size of our annual operating budget. You had money that was going to environmental NGOs. And I'm not here saying that we should take money from a left-wing activist NGO and give it to a right-wing activist NGO. This is about the American taxpayer. This is about having zero tolerance for any waste and abuse. This is about being a good steward of tax dollars. And for us here at the Trump EPA, we're very proud to do our part to be able to save the taxpayers as much as humanly possible. We owe it to them, especially with the size of the deficit and debt that we've seen accumulated over the course of the last several years.
Mr. Administrator, when you look at these requirements that Xi Jinping is trying to place on the export of critical minerals, he's basically shutting it down completely. I don't think anything would fall through the cracks. So when President Trump sits down with Xi Jinping, when that meeting happens, what leverage does President Trump have in this debate now?
Well, the United States is a massive economy. We should proudly be looking at any type of negotiation with any other nation, anywhere else, friend or foe, with a tremendous awareness of just how strong and big our own economy is. And, China would love to be able to export into the United States. They don't want to lose out on any opportunities that they feel are important to their country. And, President Trump talks about this often. He talks about how his focus is America first, and that he understands that these other national leaders of these other countries, he expects them to be fighting for what's best in their own country's national interest. He gets it. But we have a lot of leverage on the world stage. We are a world power that has a massive economy. We have a massive military. We have an active State Department and a diplomatic effort across the world. We have powers from cyber to intelligence to healthcare and so much more. And President Trump understands the art of the deal. He goes into these negotiations well aware of what the counterpart on the other side of the table is looking for out of a negotiation, and also well aware of what President Trump is bringing to the table when he sits down on our side. We've seen in the past with other presidencies where at times it felt like we were trading our strong negotiating position with a far inferior counterpart, where it was like we were allowing them to take the upper hand over us unilaterally and in some spirit of fairness. For President Trump, he's going to sit down at any table wanting to strike the best deal for America. And I'm confident that any deal that is struck is one that is done with the best interest of American farmers, of American companies, the ability and need to be able to export our goods to new markets elsewhere, to be able to fight for our country. And I'm excited about the future as we see all of these trade deals that have already gotten across the finish line since January.
So before we let you go, just real quickly, in July you announced an investigation into chemtrails. It's something that's fascinated people. A lot of times people are misinformed about it. The president kind of just called attention again to it with a new social post. Why take this on, and what are the most important things for Americans to know about it?
Well, for one, I don't believe that we should be playing God with the weather. That's just a fundamental belief going into all of this. I was asking a lot of questions early on, and I made it clear to everyone at EPA as I was asking these specific questions. Some were very general, some were highly technical. And I said, everything that I find out, I want to let the public know. There's no reason that I, as administrator of EPA, should be privy to information regarding geoengineering that the American public can't also find out about. Now, what I've encouraged the public to do is to make sure that that members of the public are always communicating accurately on what they are talking about, what they're concerned about, the questions that they are asking. For example, this is one of the examples that I would give, is that sometimes people look at the trail that's coming off the back of jet aircraft, and they will say on their social media feed, look at this picture, look at this video. This shows that this is stratospheric aerosol injection, and it's not. And I would just encourage the person communicating to make sure that we're using the right terms, that we're being accurate, that we're being truthful, because it could undermine the credibility of the question or the argument that people are making. And we will just continue to provide that transparency. We put new websites up on the EPA website. We encourage people to come read it. And as I learn more information, I will continue to report it. By the way, this goes beyond just the jurisdiction and equities of EPA. This involves others, but we're still going to communicate publicly, even if the particular topic isn't something that's specific to EPA.
I love it.
Transparency as policy. What a novel idea. Sir, I know we mentioned this earlier, but every time we have conversations with innovators, with investors, with C-suiters, they are so excited about what you are doing in this role. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, sir, thanks so much for being here.
All right, thank you both. Take care.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, coming up, another one of our favorite folks, Congressman Andy Biggs, is going to be here to weigh in on the 28th day of this government shutdown. That and a whole lot more after this break.